Principles and Theories of Language Acquisition. Natural approach. As what Gurnas and Abindan mentioned last meeting, natural approach was developed by Tracy Terrell and Stephen Krashen. They are the one who introduced the book The Natural Approach in 1983. This method is based on observation of how children acquire their native language that was based on Krashen's theories. This acquisition also focus approach sees communicate competence progressing through the three stages. The three stages are oral comprehension, early speech production, speech activities, all fostering natural language acquisition. When we say oral comprehension, it is related to ear or hearing, while the early speech production, it is a process of authoring articulated sounds or words. And the last one is the speech activities, all fostering natural language acquisition, much as a child would learn his or her native tongue. The natural approach is the method of second language learning that focuses on communication skills and language exposure before rules and the grammar, similar to how you learn your first language. The natural approach rejects the formal grammatical organization of language, focuses on comprehensible and meaningful practice activities, adopt techniques and activities from various methods used. It only means that it is not that strict in grammar rules. Just like the following initials that silent period, comprehension should precede production in speech, as the latter should be allowed to emerge in natural stages or progressions. Noam Chomsky explained a new theory of language acquisition of learning. This approach emphasizes the student being able to use the language to talk about ideas, perform tasks, and solve problems, which actually means that it is more easier for them to use or for the learners to use. According to Krashen's acquisition requires meaningful interaction in the target language natural communication in which speakers are concerned not with the form of their utterances but with messages they are conveying and understanding. Do you know that language acquisition and language learning are different from one another? Because language acquisition is an unconscious process developed through using different from language learning, while language learning, consciously learning, or discovering rules about a languages so they conducted the language acquisition is really the only way to competence in a second language can develop. So now let's talk about the four basic principles of natural approach. These are the pre-production, early production, speech emergence, and the last one is the intermediate fluency. The first one is the pre-production. It is the first stage in the natural approach and it is essentially a silent pace where nothing seems to be happening. Children have the stage when they're not really talking at all. It seems nothing is going on and you're essentially getting no nada or utterance but just only a blank stare. Second one is the early production. In this stage, babies start uttering their first words, phrases, and simple sentences. Bothering with correct grammar comes late in the acquisition stage. In the natural approach, the early stages are replete with grammatically incorrect communication that aren't really implicitly corrected. When a child says, I drinks, the mother doesn't give him a firm scolding, but instead, the mother is happy and find it cute while giving him a drink. But the child is slowly getting fluent with his first language. He's actually communicating and using language to express what he wants and all that's happening without any direct grammar lessons. And the third one is the speech emergence. Over time, the child's singular words and short phrases will transform into lengthier ones, thus enters the speech emergence stage. The sentences, while longer, are still relatively basic and are likely to contain a lot of mistakes in grammar, pronunciation, or word usage. At this point, the child level of understanding others' speech is quite high, or quite higher than the first and the second one. The last one is the intermediate fluency. When we say the intermediate fluency, the child is just getting to peek behind the scene to see the specific rules or the grammar guiding his own language usage. The linguistic experience stacks up so fast so that when the child sits waiting for his first grammar class, he's already chatting nonstop with his seatmates with perfectly decent grammar even before the language teachers arrives. And that's what natural approach is all about. It's looking back to first language acquisition and using the whole bag of tricks there in order to get the some kind of success for second and the third or fourth, fifth, and so on language acquisition. Just because you're learning another language doesn't mean you have to reinvent the wheel. The expectation and the learning curve might be different for adults, but the underlying human mental and psychological mechanism are the same. So I guess those are all and I hope you learn. Thank you for listening.